All right, looks like we're recording. Hey, everybody, Kurt Molly here, Mr. Jeff Schechter. I think you should be on that side. Maybe he points to that side. I don't really know. It's great. Hey, everybody, it's great to see you here today. This is actually April 18th, 2016, which is amazing. I mean, Checky, for over the last 90 days, we've been working on the social media ad genius. We're code-naming the Profit Factory, which we may change the name around a little bit just to make it fun and interesting.
Yes.
But really, I mean, I've gone to a ton of masterminds over the last 90 days. I mean, the last like 4 weeks, I just feel like I've been in every other mastermind being asked to go out and speaking or contributing in somehow. And I tell people this 12-step process that we've been going through to quantify funnels. And I tell people, you know, it's really a quantifiable way to verify each part of your funnel and produce long-term, scalable, predictable income with proof. And people are like, man, I love that idea. And today, the proof is really what we're going to start talking about as well, too, and eliminating a lot of those fears. So, Shecky, do you mind talking about your blog article for a minute and why you wrote it and kind of some of the interesting thing behind there? And then what I want to do is bring Heather out for a minute, kind of talk about overcoming those fears, how she's grown her coaching business, how she got her TV, little spot. And then you and I will hop back on over through how we quantify this whole experience so people can have, success online, like what Heather and others are seeing as well too. So jump right into it, sir.
Thank you. So for those of you that are on our email list, whether you read it or not, there was a really cool email that went out called The Two Chickens. And it was really just a story of two different people that operate based on fear, but they operate a different way, but they're still driven by that same fear. And so, after coaching a lot of students and, us moving through and doing a lot of consultations with different people, we see this very, very often. And, there's this old acronym, like false evidence appearing real, which is great. And a lot of these, personal development gurus like to use that acronym. But what I find is in this process is it doesn't really apply. There's not really any false evidence. The reality is for a lot of these people, there is no evidence. And so they don't really have much to go on. And as a result, they get kind of locked up. And so, like, for example, one of them was the person who is the worrywart. And this is that person that, okay, I'm only going to budget like $5 and I'm going to watch like every 5 minutes, right? And they haven't really done some of the foundational work that we've completely laid out for everybody in Social Media Ad Genius and gone an even deeper dive into it in the Profit Factory that we've been covering the last 90 days. There's definitely some foundational work. So they just kind of go off on this, well, my offer is bound to appeal to women, ages 30 to 45. So they just start advertising to that. And they monitor, and 2-3 days later, like, well, I've spent, $7.52 and I don't have 40 sales yet. So the next thing they do is they lock up in fear and they push the pause button or the off button, right? So now there's no opportunity for anything to happen. The other person actually has a similar end result in that they're one of these people, like they're really cavalier. It's like, oh, dude, I know I've got this thing nailed and, everybody in my niche is going to buy it. So they put a bigger ad budget out there and they just, let everything run and they get busy with other stuff. They come back 2-3 weeks later. They haven't really monitored it at all. Now they've spent $3,500 or $4,000 and still like, no sales. So that guy then shuts it off. So the same thing is happening with both of these kinds of personalities. And obviously there's a spectrum of different personalities in between. These are just kind of the two extremes, but they're both operating out of fear. And the fear is coming really from lack of knowledge, from lack of understanding, from lack of knowing just really two pieces: how to get the foundational work set up correctly so that they have some proper metrics and things like that to track. And once they understand what we call KPIs, the key performance indicators, which is really just 5 or 6 really just important metrics to look at and keep in mind, and they have some benchmarks that they know what to look for, it's like all fear vanishes because fear is definitely based on emotion. And when you have this knowledge and you understand what you're tracking and what to look for, it's like, well, if you're tracking it and you're not achieving it, you have the goal of what you need to do to achieve it. These are the metrics I'm trying to achieve. This is where I'm trying to get to. So you understand how to turn things up or turn things down based on, hey, I'm going right there. And it's not emotional anymore. It's just based on facts. And so that's really what this whole week and probably next week, because we got a lot to cover, is all about.
Yeah, I mean, this is a saying that I have all the time when I'm talking to people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it makes it really simple." Shecky. Now I'm going to ask you a very difficult question, and I don't want you to use a calculator, but we're going to try to figure this one out, and I think you know the answer to this one. Shecky, what is 1 + 1?
Oh man, 2. I'm going with 2.
How about 2 + 4?
I'm going to go with 6.
4 + 4?
8.
Okay. Now, out of all those numbers, which one's the highest?
8.
Was any of that scary?
A little bit, because of the way you ask it to me.
But I mean,
I'm just giving you a hard time. Yeah,
this is very important. Was any of that scary?
No.
Right. What happens is a lot of people don't know their numbers, don't know what the right numbers are or what the next numbers are. So what they do is they tell themselves a story in their head that's attached to, I honestly don't know. A lot of times it's, I got to prove to my husband that I can make this work, or my significant other, or my grandma's sister's aunt's uncle didn't like me and said something bad about my one email, so I stopped running ads. Like, what we're looking at is quantifiable data. Now, what's funny is it depends on who you talk to. Like, Shecky's worked with me for a really long time. So some people will come up to me and say, Kurt, you're really analytical and all about the numbers. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm really creative, and I just use numbers to reason all of the logic if it works or not. And I just remove the emotion out of it. People get emotional about, I can't lose this. I got to make sure I make this. I have to do this. We understand that you want to progress as a business, right? But, you know, restaurants will open up and say, they don't say, tomorrow I have to have this place full. If it's not full tomorrow, I'm going to shut down my business. And they go 2 days and say, I got to shut it down. I don't know what I'm doing. No, they got to strategically plan, because these people have put tens, 20s, sometimes even hundreds of thousands of dollars into a restaurant. Shecky, you wrote a great story that just reminded me of Who Moved My Cheese, right, when I read it. And if anybody hasn't read that book, it's a great book on where people try to go to the same spot over and over and over and over. Some spots, you know, just realize that it moves, that the cheese is moved. See, here's the really important thing. Really, without getting into the whole rah-rah or any woo-foo stuff, it is, if we can assist people in overcoming fear, running ads is really easy. You know, the analytical way of running ads is actually very easy. It's 1 + 1, 2 + 2, and we're going to go over some of these very important metrics in our breakout session. Check, I've been working for a couple hours already on a new format process. You're going to love how I draw out this mind map that shows people where to go. Is here's how we're going to start in the profit factory, all 12 steps. Here's a video to show you exactly how to do it. Here where you can click on a link that takes you directly into a presentation and what section for exactly what to do for what we call big ideas. Beginner, intermediate, and genius. And the last part is how you can logically look at these numbers. How many people should you have ideally in your first target market? How big should your retargeting audiences be when you first start retargeting? What should your landing page opt-in be ideally, even if it's good, bad, or indifferent for beginners, intermediates, or genius, those big ideas. It's a lot of stuff we're going to talk about this week, but Shecky, just for a moment, Heather, if you wouldn't mind, if you were still there, if you have just a minute, click on that where it says call in, or it'll pull you on up. If you don't mind, there she is. Hey, let me introduce Heather Pickens here for just a second. We'll just do this for just to frame this here real quick, Heather, before you bring on. I'll spend 5, 6 minutes with you, 5, 6, 7 minutes, which would be great. You guys, Heather's someone we worked with for a while. She's come up to our live events. She's been a student of ours for a while. She has a great story. Heather, if you don't mind, I'll have you tell your story here when I bring you on here in just a second. And what she's been doing is helping entrepreneurs overcome fear, especially with Entrepreneurs on Fire. And the way that she's growing and what she's doing, a lot of know overcomes fear, sign on some higher coaching packages as well too. So Heather, the camera is going to be on here in just a second. When I got your email, by the way, and you'll be hearing me as you're coming on. When I first got your email where I saw that you were here in Austin on a news station, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'd love to see these updates from people as they're progressing. I cannot wait to get you on the phone or chat with you to hear how everything's going. Now, I can't see you, but I may be able to see your audio. Are you there? No.
Not here.
It says when on air. Sometimes this happens, Shecky, as you and I know. Let's see here real quick. Heather, we're just going to go ahead and talk good about you until you show up right up here. It says, let me call back in. Okay, not a problem. Here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to close that out. It's going to say kick, but I know that you're going to be able to call right back in. All right, there you go.
Let me say one thing, Kurt, while we're waiting.
Yep.
Now I've got an echo in my voice.
Good.
Heather is somebody that also had some of her own fears, and she took action, and she came to Austin and sat with us in a bunker weekend and worked through her shit, right? And said, look, I got to come and figure this out. And she, out of all the people that were there that weekend, she really stands out as someone who really was not afraid to go, look, help me. I really want to understand this. I really want to get this because this is my vision and this is what I want to do with my tribe. And so we worked through that stuff. And here's a woman who just went and just like took action and is now out there just crushing it in her niche. And she's out there doing a lot of the same stuff that we're doing, which is kind of fun, helping entrepreneurs and helping other coaches and authors and things like that. And I've had the pleasure of having a couple nice phone conversations with her over the last few months. And, you know, I mean, like, I'm proud to call her my friend. She's really like, she's a sharp cookie. She's a firecracker. And so it's a pleasure to have her here if we can ever get her to log in.
We will. So here's the thing. So Heather, if you want to try one more time, we'll try it. See if third time's lucky charm. Sometimes it's just a Blab deal. I'm not really quite sure if it's bandwidth, what it is. Sometimes it's just one of those deals. So Shecky, this is where it becomes really fun because I love doing these live events. Like, I love where people come down, we get to draw out their funnel. Shecky, I was just at a mastermind this weekend, and what's really interesting, this was with my friend Keith Baxter, you know, someone who was very special to me, who helped me make my first $2,000 a month online. And that client that I think we probably made $500,000 with that client. I mean, it's been amazing 5 years with those guys. So here's the thing. Inside of the mastermind, people were asking, hey, Kurt, what about if you had a live event where you worked with someone like Chris Mercer? Chris Mercer, as you guys know, is the analytic expert. And if we went over theory the first day, so we would have essentially an owner and an operator would come down for the live event. I believe we're probably going to have 10 people, so it'd be 20 people total. And what's going to happen is we're going to go over theory of the metrics, setting up, and the overall ad strategy for everybody. Day one, be a 3-day event. Day two, we're going to start setting up the analytics. We're going to have a whole team there to set up analytics and dashboards so you're tracking all the way through your funnel. Day three, we'll have all our staff to implement the ads and the tracking. So you'll have ads that will be up and running, and we're going to be able to show you and provide some support for a couple of months after this event to show you how to make sure that you can scale your business from $0 to $100,000 in a year, $0 to $100,000 in just a couple of months, even 100 if you're making 6 figures plus, even up to 7 figures as well too. So keep an eye on. I'm going to send an email here in just the next couple of days. You're going to love this. Let me go ahead and try Heather one more time. Bring her on here. It's going to be lots of fun. So, you know, overall, Shecky, you know, the thing is, when I go out to live events,
there she is.
There we go.
There she is.
It's not working with my original camera, but this will do just fine.
As always, though, you look great as always. Doesn't matter, so it's perfect. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Great. Good to have you here. So, you know, today we're really talking about overcoming fears, especially with numbers and ads. But I know you work with a ton of entrepreneurs. I saw you recently on an Austin TV show. And as I was mentioning before, I'm like, we just got to catch up with her and find out how you're doing. And, you know, since we're talking about fear a little bit today, is if you wouldn't mind to add a couple of words of how you work with entrepreneurs and fear. But we'd love to hear your story first and with an introduction and catch up with you second.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, I deal, of course, with my own fears, but when I'm working with entrepreneurs, I know one of the biggest challenges is investing in themselves, money. You know, you would talk about ad spend and that sort of thing. And, you know, one of the biggest things I think is really key is having a really big vision that is so vast that it scares you, because if you can create a big vision, what I find is that you magnetize all the right people and resources to help you. Whereas if your vision is just focusing on paying the bills, you might as well just have a hobby. But what I like to do is work with serious entrepreneurs that see themselves as leaders in their business and that want to make an impact in the world, and help them to create the platform and the voice to really market and package their high-end programs.
I think what's interesting, one thing that you said that is really important, like if you're looking just to pay the bills, like it's really kind of like a job or kind of like a hobby. But the thing that I tell Shecky all the time, and our staff and friends, it's like, man, once you know how to run ads and you really believe in yourself as well too, overcome those fears, like the world is your oyster. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you know the math. So Heather, you've dealt with this on your own and with working with students. How do you overcome the fear, or do you assist others when it comes time to invest in themselves? So we're talking coaching, training program, and of course, running ads. Because one of my favorite lines, and I know you've heard this too, look, I only have a budget for X. And as soon as I hear that, I'm like, great. If you spent $1 and made $2, how much money would you spend? They're like, all the money in the world. And I go, great. When you say you have a budget, now what we're doing is we're talking about what you think you're going to lose right away. So how do you overcome that fear of that money moving forward?
Right. Well, I always look at it as an investment, because if you look at, well, it's an expense, I'm losing this, then it takes away that momentum. So you have to look at, if you're talking about ad spend, that is your investor, and what is the return that you're going to make. So it really is about that mindset. Like you have to be in it for long term, because long term builds your life and your business. Instant gratification will cost you your life and your business. So it's just really making those two distinctions, and it's really having that mindset and looking at, you guys work with a lot of successful people. Well, what are the habits and mindsets? How do they think? And you've got to put yourself inside of someone's head that is already successful, because if you're hanging around, and this is really important, hanging around broke friends and people, what they're going to do if they hear that, oh my gosh, that's so expensive, instead of understanding, no, wait a minute, I'm investing in my business with, getting those leads, getting those people into my funnel. And I explain it to them in that way. And they just get it. Those people that, just don't want to spend money on anything, they'll never get to the next level of success. It just won't happen. So it is, the key thing is the mindset. And then of course, having a strategy. I think that's really important, having the right strategy, and then being able to measure your success. Is this working? Is this not working? But if you want to play a bigger game, you just have to do that.
It amazes me because people will say, I have to make money tomorrow.
And I can't hear you guys.
Can you hear me okay, Shecky?
Oh. Yeah, I can.
Yeah, we can hear you. I'll try sign language.
For some reason, I can't hear the audio. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Perfectly.
I don't know. Maybe I'll unplug my microphone.
I don't know. Nope, now we can't hear you. Nope. Angie, can you hear us? No. Yep. And then we can't hear you. Refresh your screen. Maybe refresh your screen. That's good advice. So yeah, if you pop on, we'll hear you. You maybe just want to refresh your screen and come back on. Yep. We'll try that here real quick. It's always interesting, Shecky, with technical difficulties, even today.
Yeah.
When we were going back and forth, we started a webinar 15 minutes late with a private individual. And then he's like, oh, yeah, I forgot. We washed my earphone in the washer. We're like, oh, at least we were able to test and verify to figure out what worked.
I want to repeat one thing while we're waiting for Heather to come back on, because she touched on something that I've never really heard said this way. Yep. Is treating your ad spend like your investor. I mean, yes, it's an investment, but treating it like it's your investor. It's like, okay, you've got somebody there who's putting money into your business. And if it were somebody else, hypothetically, you have an obligation to them to get their investment paid back and to make them money. Otherwise, they're not going to invest with you.
So, Shecky, we have a lot of stuff to go over the training this week. So we have a big topic, which we're going to kind of figure out if it's going to be over 1 or 2 weeks, depending on how much stuff that we have going on.
Yeah.
Shecky, what would you say would be one of the most important things in your opinion on why people need to join us on the breakout session this week?
Well, this is the culmination of everything we've been teaching the last 90 days. And so we've gone through this whole 12-step process and how to lay your foundation and how to ascend and everything. But essentially, whether it's this week or the next 2 weeks, this is all about the proof. So this is, step 4 of the 4 foundations is where everything comes together. And so it's kind of like what Heather was just saying is, you can have all this stuff and you can have it laid out, but do you have a foolproof way to measure everything, right? What are you going to measure? And what exactly are the benchmarks that you need to achieve for those measurements? This is not, like I was saying before, this is not emotion. This is just very, very black and white. So there's a lot of, great trainers out there, and we've done, plenty of motivational, fluffy stuff too, right? And that's important. But this is where we get into like really, really black and white. So for the people that are saying, I've just been scratching my head. I get all this stuff. I get the concepts, whatever, but show me exactly what I want to measure and how I can measure it and how I can move forward and just click the little boxes off on the stuff that I'm doing, then this training is for you. Like, it's going to be very clear. It's going to be very black and white. There's not going to be any like guesswork for you. And Kurt, I know you well enough to know that you're probably going to give some different like a beginner may want to achieve different benchmarks than an intermediate or a genius. Yes. So the beauty of the way that we're going to present this is it is for everyone. If you're a beginner, you'll be able to see what kind of things you should be shooting for. But the beauty of spending the hour to sit through this, right, is that you'll also see some intermediate and genius stuff, which also gives you some vision for your own future of the kinds of things you should be shooting for. So achieve this now. Here's the kind of achievements you can be looking for in the future. And if you're already out there crushing it, we're going to show you how to make grapes out of what you're crushing. It's going to be awesome. So
I don't think I've ever heard that before. I don't know. Make grapes out of what you're crushing?
Just, I don't know. It's like a wine reference. It just popped out. Pay no attention. Just carry on. Carry on.
So here's the thing is what I explained in the mastermind over the last couple of masterminds I've been in the last 2 weeks is people are like, very few people are teaching this stuff. And it's really just a simple math, right? It's not getting really crazy. And I am not a math whiz. I didn't even pass algebra. I had to take, I think, basic geometry twice or something like that. These are just simple 5th grade math that you can easily prove your numbers at where you're at in the funnel. So what you're going to do is, again, with our social media ad genius, what we're calling the profit factory process, it's 17 steps for how to set up your ads and to make sure that you're increasing the lifetime value of your customer, short and long term. It's all a quantifiable process. Again, all with big ideas, beginner, intermediate, and genius. So I know that the mastermind that I was at, for instance, on Saturday, there were some people in there spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. And by the time I related how like campaigns can dramatically scale your regular ad spend and increase your relevance score so you can scale faster, Keith told me, Shecky, the guy who ran the mastermind, he's been online for 17 years. And he goes, dude, nobody teaches this stuff like you do. He goes, not in the in-depth, in the way. He goes, it's not complicated. It's fun. It's easy. And that's why we do these breakout sessions. For the general public, you always get access to this one breakout session for the entire week. But if you want all 12 recordings, then all 12 recordings at right now, this is really till the end of the month. It's just $97 a month. And you get access to Social Media Ad Genius, step-by-step how to do everything in Facebook ads. And you're also going to get access to the Social Media Ad Genius, what we're calling the Profit Factory, all 12 steps. This Wednesday is going to be one. It's probably going to be 2 videos. It's probably going to be 2 training sessions because we have a lot to go over. But this is the proof. This is where you're like, okay, I spent some money, whether a little bit or a lot, and what happened? Oh, well, here are my numbers. Now I know what's important for my numbers. How do they compare to other people? Oh, I actually didn't do that bad. Or, wow, I should completely rework the process. See, what a lot of people get scared of is just because they don't understand. So again, we'll say it again. False events appearing real. Think about it. It's fear, right? I tell a little story about my stepdad, and I love him dearly. But Shecky's heard this story before. Is one time in Nebraska, we're sitting there and we're going to go for Christmas to my brother's house in Lincoln, and it was a 45-minute drive, and it was 40 degrees outside, and it was forecasted to be 38 to 40 degrees outside. So what happens is, this is very interesting. Hang on one second. I just got to make a quick correction. Oh, that is perfect. Well, see, what ends up happening is the temperature was never going to fall below 35 degrees. Now, if you know anything about the thing called the science, 32 degrees is freezing for Fahrenheit, right? So if it's at 40 degrees, you're going to be fine all day long. It's going to be great. Well, my stepfather got really worried. Thought the roads were going to ice over. Thought the salt trucks weren't going to be out there. Was worried about us kids driving. Keep in mind, I'm 38 years old. My youngest brother is 34. We're grown adults. We're going to be all right, especially with the science thing. Well, what happens is my stepfather gets really upset because he thinks he should leave early. He wants to make sure if we're going to drive, we should drive behind him. And we're like, listen, none of this stuff is real. I don't want to say it's all in your head because that really bugs people. But I'm like, we're going to be fine. We're grown adults. Well, what ends up happening is he drives early, drives slow, white knuckle the entire, I think he turned it into a 90-minute drive, which should have been 30 minutes. And he showed up. None of this came true. It never went below 32 degrees. It was always 40. But here's what happened. He was upset the rest of the day. He was angry the rest of the day because he was angry and anxious about a story that he created in his head that never existed. So since it didn't exist, he was disappointed and upset because he upset everybody else. So he didn't really spend time with people at Christmas that night, which was weird. But I remember that story so vividly. The reason is because I'm always interested in human emotion. But I'm like, oh my goodness, students and clients that we have do this with ads. They spend money and then they're like, wait a minute, I spent money, but I spent $200 and I lost my money. I don't know what I'm doing. Well, if you set it up properly with the avatar, you still have qualified clicks. So it's not like you just burn the money. What happens is you burn the money. You literally burn cash if you don't go through step one of the factory process, which is, do you know who your avatar is? Like, do you know exactly who you're going to sell? Exactly who can use your product and service? Well, once you know that and you learn a little bit about targeting, now all this is testing. One step to the next step to the next step until you complete all 12 steps. It's all quantifiable. So Shecky heard me say this before. When people are like, Kurt, I don't know what I'm doing. First, stop saying you don't know what you're doing. That's why you're here. Second, when they go, I know, but I don't know what to do next. Stop saying you don't know what to do next. Say, what can I do next? And I say this to myself all the time when I get frustrated. I choose to make this process fun and easy. Sometimes it's one of those little lines that we're like, I don't know how this works. You know what? I'm going to choose to make this fun and easy, and I'm just going to click around until I figure it out. You know what? Actually, that wasn't that hard that I figured it out. A lot of people tell them stories, and Shecky, you know that there are some clients that you're going to know exactly who they are when I describe the story, where I'm like, here, all I want you to do is do A, B, and C. And they're like, but I don't know what happens if I do A. My friend told me if I do B, it's not going to work. And C, that just doesn't seem like something I've done before. All right, test and verify. Just prove me wrong. Like, go over whatever emotions you have to do. Just do those three things. I know, but see, here's the deal. If I do this one, it might not equal to what 3 is. And if I do 2, I've told you my friend already, and I'm just, don't ever believe anything unless you've tested and verified it yourself.
Right.
And it's okay if it doesn't work. It means you've successfully proven something that you're not going to do again, right? It's making the same mistake as taking cash at Facebook or Google and just throwing money at it and then being resentful that Facebook and Google does not work. You can't be resentful that the platform doesn't work because honestly, you just told it exactly what to do. It's a stupid computer. It does exactly what you want it to do. So if you, I'm just going to be open. If you fucked up your ads, notice my language, both I cursed and your ads, not Facebook's ads, your ads. Because really Facebook gives us some of hands down the best targeting that I've just ever seen. And this is super important. If you can keep your relevancy score up, a score that's very critical, if you can keep your relevancy score up, world is your oyster and you can scale as much as possible. Now, Shecky, we got to talk about numbers and fears for a minute. So I talk about over and over and over that numbers really help eliminate fears. They really, really do. But it's funny when I say that, people are like, holy crap, I'm scared of numbers. Shecky, you have owned a payroll company. You've seen lots of numbers,
Yes,
right?
More than I ever can remember.
Do these numbers in running ads, it's really just like a critical 5 or 6 numbers. Do these numbers in running ads really that hard? Do you require algebra, geometry, trigonometry to figure any of this out? Macros?
No, I mean, let's see, addition, subtraction, division. Division is kind of also calculated when making a percentage. So I would say it's basically addition, subtraction, and division. It's probably not even 5th grade math. It's maybe more like 3rd grade math. That's it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there isn't any hard calculations. It's just knowing what to look for. So, you know what I wanted to ask you, because we got a few minutes, is would you mind, Kurt, just talking a little bit about, maybe we should just talk a little bit about some of these acronyms, because sometimes people also get freaked out about acronym, right? Like, for example, like CPC, right? Which is cost per click, right? So
what we're going to do is,
go ahead.
We'll provide actually a legend and a key to help people out, basically a glossary.
Right.
So there is a list of glossary terms. It's probably about 7 pages long, right?
Mm-hmm.
But really there's only 4 critical numbers you have to know, just 4. This is cost per acquisition. This could be cost per lead, average revenue per lead, average cost per sale, average revenue per sale. That's it. So those are the 4 most critical numbers. Now, when we're talking about ads, there's some click-through rate, there's some click-through rate, there's some cost per click, but really those are the 4 most important numbers. And that's really it. Now, the acronyms, once you understand them, there's maybe 5 or 6 that are important.
Yeah.
They're very easy benchmark numbers. Very easy benchmark numbers. But I mean, really, Shecky, you've seen this all before. People get really nervous about their numbers, but if they know where to look, it always tells you what to do next, right?
Yeah. You know, and we've talked about this in a number of other trainings too. And I think one of the things people get hung up on is it's sometimes easy for them to get hung up on numbers like, oh, my cost per click is so high, or, you know, my cost for getting these leads are so high. In other words, like they'll look at a lead costing them $20, right? But they've got like a decent conversion rate, right? And they're converting some of those leads, and they have a $397 product that they're getting leads. So, you know, for example, if they're closing like 1 out of every 5, right, it's costing them $100 to sell $397. So they're not looking at the fact that they've got a net profit of $297 over that process, right? A net profit of nearly $300. They're looking at the fact that each lead is costing them $20, right? Like people just get focused on the wrong thing, is what I'm saying. And, you know, the reality is, of course, we're all in business, and we all have an obligation to ourselves, right, to make a profit, right? We can't serve our communities if we can't pay our own bills and grow our businesses to create more exposure to help more people. So the cool thing about the stuff that we're going to be talking about is that it's not just going to help you understand the black and white of the numbers, but it's going to teach you which 4 or 5 are the most important and which are the ones that you don't have to pay so much attention to and keep yourself up at night over the BS of that stuff. Because let's face it, there's a lot of, you know, I hate to use this word, but there's a lot of gurus out there. There's a lot of people that are like, well, I'm an expert, and their lead magnets are such that they're always creating some sort of emotion or fear around those basic numbers, right? Like, oh my God, if your cost per click isn't this, you're doing something wrong. And people absorb that stuff, and then they get focused on the wrong numbers. So the cool thing about what's going on this week and probably the next is that all that is going to be water under the bridge. You get the 4 or 5 things you know you need to focus on. Yes, you have to keep in mind some of the other stuff that's going on, but you are no longer in a situation where you're going to be subject to those emotional impulses of worrying about the things that you don't have to be worried about. And those emotional impulses could come from you. They could be triggered by things you're seeing online, from, you know, other lists that you may be on, from ads on Facebook. Who knows where it's coming from? Maybe it's just people you're hanging out with, right? So all that's going to go away, which is great.
That's so true. So I'm making a world-renowned deal right here. It's funny. It's all about the numbers from probably one of the biggest influencers in our market. They're talking about right now actually doing a big deal with Microsoft that I just have coming across my news feed that is just, I love this business, and it all has to do about numbers. You know what I mean? Second.
It's awesome.
Intro. And that was quick meetup. So anyway, yeah, I mean, the thing is I see this over and over and over. Vacations, where you want to live, what you want to drive, where you want to send your kids to school. It's all a mathematical equation. And if you don't give up too quickly, that's really, really, really important. Hey, Shaq, I don't think that thing hyperlinks, so I'm not quite sure what you just put in there.
I know.
But I tell you what, it's probably this right here, so don't worry about it.
No.
Yep, there we go. So the thing is remember what we do is every single week that there's a blog article posted, and you see that over on the bottom left-hand side right here. Every Monday we have a blab where we talk about the overall content, and on Wednesday we have a breakout session where it's a PowerPoint presentation, step-by-step goes through numbers, not just theory. This is here really all about theory. But what we're going to do is we're going to go step-by-step through the numbers, and again relate it to big ideas, beginner, intermediate, and genius. We want to make sure that you have a step-by-step plan. One of the best things for you to do is register for that upcoming webinar. It's free, it's online, it's a live online training this Wednesday, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. The recording will be available for the general public for a week. But I mean, really, it's a no-brainer. You're going to spend the money anyway in ads. Learn how to do ads right with our social media Ad Genius 2.0. It's been sold around the world. Thousands of people have had great success with our programs. And you're going to get all 12 recordings also for the Social Media Ad Genius Profit Factory. Now, we are probably going to rename that product because now that we record all this content over the last 90 days, we're going to do an online special event coming up probably next month where we're going to have, it's really kind of first I've talked about it just a little bit, but we're going to have basically a virtual training workshop for probably 2 to 3 days, just like you'd go to a conference, but you're going to be able to do it from the comfort of your own home. We're going to offer all the training live and workshop steps. This will be probably one of the most intensive trainings that you've attended online, where you're going to dedicate time just like you would at a regular conference, but you're going to do it from the comfort of your own home. We're going to take each module. We're going to walk you through it. Then we're going to have you take action items so you can come back just like you would in a conference. And we're going to take that next step. But we're going to do this in an accelerated format over a 2 or 3 day period. And the reason is, man, I got to tell you, with the speed of implementation, which you'll be able to do after the end of these couple of days, it's going to be huge. But that is going to be a completely different service than we're talking about right here. So just get prepared. Learn all the Facebook ads. Get all the recordings. I mean, get the Profit Factory and dive into it. This content's amazing, and it is changing lots of lives. And we just got the most amazing feedback here as well too. Oh, Nick, looks like we got to change the date on the webinar to the 20th instead of the 13th. If you wouldn't mind taking care of that, that is awesome. And Adrian, dude, I really appreciate what you're saying. So, awesome. Dude, thank you. I really. So this, it's funny because we can sign up a chiropractor for $1,500 a month, and we can get him some chiropractic patients. It's cool. What Adrian says over in here, this is the reason that we really do it. It's because we can work with great clients. We can share the information so people can use it on their own in their own business. It's amazing. So Adrian, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of the family. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I always, it really is quite amazing. And I really really appreciate you guys. I mean, the thing is it's just, Shecky, I can't say this enough. And I know I always really need to refer to, everybody else's story, but what just amazes me more than anything else is I graduated from the lower part of my class. I didn't want to go to college because I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but my teachers are like, you got to pay attention more. You don't try hard enough. And I'm like, I'm going to end up working in some factory that and I'm like, I got to get out of Nebraska as soon as I can. I graduated 6 months early and I left. Got a college education, started running some call centers, watched my friends graduate from college and make more money. And then all of a sudden one day I'm like, man, I don't want to do this for the next 40 years. What I'm doing right now, I don't. And I met some people and I got a little bit different point of reference. And then just because I met one person, studied a little bit, met another. And then I saw a guy make $450,000 in front of my eyes. Never seen that before. Never seen anything like that in my life. Just $450,000 in about 5 hours. And it changed my point of reference. I saw that it could be done. And then once that mind shifted just a little bit, that I knew it was possible, everything changed. And it really came down to numbers. That's it. And when I look at it, I'm like, hey, how can I really add value to the world, right? How can I really give back? Is it Facebook ads? Well, no, it's actually quantifying the number in funnels, quantifying the next step, helping entrepreneurs overcome fear so they can take massive action. And that's why Shecky and I set up this entire intensive 90-day plus training process where we're like, hey, look, we know that we have something here. We know that this 12-step process can really help change lives, but there's a lot of content. So it's going to take us a while to build it out, and we're going to have to take some time. We took 90 days to really massage it out, and it's making a huge difference. Now, as we move forward and put all this stuff together in real sync and give some additional supporting documentation, I mean, I'm telling you right now, and I don't usually like this saying, but if you're looking to get in the, really a ground floor level of it's like, hey, we want to learn early and we want to show up and like make a huge difference in your funnels. If you're looking for a predictable, scalable income, short and long term, that's what the Profit Factory is really all about. So our main thing is overall, we will help you overcome the fear for running ads. If you're able to overcome the fear of running ads and you run ads consistently, you'll be able to start scaling your traffic. So it's really perfect. So someone asked, what happened to the original SMAG 2? What will happen for the original SMAG 2 clients? So great question. Anybody who's in Social Media Ad Genius, anybody is always, right now, you are always going to get access to the Profit Factory, all the recordings that we have over the last 90 days. You're always going to have access to Social Media Ad Genius 2.0. Now, when we do the intensive 3-day training, we're probably going to rebrand that. Just the reason is we got some great insight for some next steps on what this whole thing's going to be. And that 3-day live training is going to take a ton of resources for us to do. So we'll give family members always the best discount. Absolutely.
Always.
And people who attend that live event, it will be well below what we're going to sell it for retail, right? And I don't know, but maybe $197 or $297 for that 3-day event. I mean, it will be turned into a $2,000 product, and we'll probably talk about price later. But for SMAG family members, we always take care of you guys. There will be a different price, but it's going to be a really small investment. So if you get in now, you're going to get access to recordings that as of the end of this month and the end of next month, general public just are not going to have access to. But whatever you have access to now, you will have access to forever, which I think is absolutely awesome. Shecky, did you want to add something in there as well too?
Well, I want to back up for a minute. I first of all, that sounds like ridiculously cheap. So we're gonna have a little talk about that later. But I know the guy you're talking about with the 450K inside of an hour, right?
Yep.
I mean, I know him well.
It was not inside of an hour. It was 5 hours.
Okay. But the point that I want to make is you would not have been in that room without the power of association. You would not have moved past your illustrious career in the call center were it not for you to make some decisions about who you want to hang out with, about the kinds of people that you want to surround yourself with. So this is really important. And so that what I want to do is I want to put this out there, the people that are on this Blab, right? Like, I want to just give kudos to you because you've made it a point to, so whether it's electronically or whatever, and to hang out with us, right? And so we don't take that lightly, and because we're going out there and networking and going to masterminds, and we're hanging out with some just incredibly amazing people, and all of that energy continues to spread and proliferate. So I want to just remind everybody that this is really important. It's like when you click the close button when we're done with this session. And if you go back to like your family that doesn't believe in you, or your loser friends that are flipping burger at McDonald's. I'm not saying that you have loser friends, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's always people in our lives. The great majority of people that are out there, probably more than 95% of the population, are pretty much on autopilot. They're not necessarily entrepreneurs. They may talk and have dreams about like, oh, someday when I win the lottery, like that's kind of a common term, right? But they're not out there shaking the trees like you guys and gals are, right? And this is why we get so excited about having people like Heather on. Like, this is a woman who's out there really shaking things up and really making a difference, and she's doing it with a passion, right? So it's awesome, and that's the kind of people that we want to hang out with. So when you come to these Blabs, and when you come to the webinars that we do on Wednesday, and when you become part of the Social Media Ad Genius family and jump on and get questions answered in the Insiders Club and attend our live events or even attend our live over a weekend events, you're still continuing to get that juice and that energy. It's not just about the content. Yes, the content is important. There's no question that the content is important, but it's just as important to soak up that energy, right? And this is the thing that I love, as you know this, Kurt, I love and hate working from home, right? So it's great to have this, okay, my kitchen's right behind me, and it's great to have all the conveniences and not have to get on the horrible commute. But unless I'm on the phone or emailing with somebody, there's a detachment from that energy, right? And so that's why I love the phone calls and I love this stuff, right? Because then you can interface with other and pick up the energy that they're putting out there. So that's it. End of rant.
That's good. So everybody, since we're right at the top of the hour anyway, I gotta actually run to another client call here in just a minute. So I can't encourage you enough. As you're running your campaigns, we're going to go over how to face your fears really on this upcoming breakout session. Now, it's not this believe in yourself, give your dad a hug, make sure you call your mom and apologize for what you did when you were 6. None of that stuff, right? This is, okay, here's how you have the confidence. Now, what do the numbers mean specifically? What's the next step? What do those numbers mean? Are you in line with what the national average is? I mean, you're always comparing apples to oranges because your stuff's going to be different than someone else's stuff compared to someone else's stuff compared to what the overall average is. But at least you have a baseline of what's going to happen next. Now, if you're a beginner, man, Wednesday, huge difference. If you're intermediate, you're going to get a bunch of tips. I can assure you that you're like, oh, this makes more sense to help you progress and move on your funnel. Now, if you're advanced or what we call genius level, definitely want to check it out. Definitely check it out because we're going to give you a different perspective that you may not have thought of before. And we're going to show you some easy math on where you may be leaving money on the table right now. So it's going to be really important. Make sure, again, it's free to register. Register for the webinar. As we tell you everything else, like there's no ulterior motive. There's not a big raw close at the end. Hey, if you're ready to be part of the Social Media Ad Genius family, we'd love to have you at any time. Like I said, it's either $497 for the year or $97 a month. You can cancel at any time. But you get access to one of the best Facebook trainings out there. I mean, we have tons and tons. Well, actually, I'll just show you. We have tons and tons of testimonials. I'll even show you this right here because it's just one of the things that I'm absolutely proud of. But the thing is come, join us, show up on the breakout session, and if you want to be part of the family, join us as part of the family so you have access to all the recordings of the Profit Factory, the mind maps that we have coming out, all the templates as well too. We make it really easy for you. All you got to do is point, click, and follow our instruction. So, Jackie, I'm going to sign off here. Anything else that you want to cover or go over?
No, I want to thank Heather for her participation as well. And it's unfortunate that we had a few tech difficulties. We should have her on again because she's really an amazing woman. And man, appreciate you, Kurt. And I'll talk to you soon. And I just want to thank everybody for participating.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, if you find this information interesting, give us a little high five, follow us on social media, Twitter or Facebook us out. And again, good to see everybody. And we look forward to seeing you on the breakout session on Wednesday. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.